Closely related to the lesson on the behaviour of individuals and groups is this lesson on communication and cooperation between individuals. Communication can be defined as the effective transmission of a message. Because the ineffective transmission of messages has led to so many accidents, pilots must be very careful about what they say and how they say it. Indeed, saying nothing can speak volumes. Paul Watzlawick, a leading communication theorist who died in 2007, propounded several axioms about communication. His first and best known axiom was, "One cannot not communicate." His other axioms deal with the way that communication also reveals things about the relationship of the parties, metacommunication, such as the authority gradient that we saw in the lesson on individuals and groups. Firstly, let us look at some of the obvious requirements for effective communication. The source and the receiver should speak the same language, which would not only include speaking the same tongue, but also the same dialect. Any slang or jargon used should also be understandable. Sentences should be correctly formed, and where possible, unambiguous. Gestures and attitudes should duplicate and reinforce the spoken word, such as the hand gestures by cabin crew during the safety briefing to passengers. The environment should allow clear communication, so noise levels should be low and distractions kept to a minimum. The context of the communication, such as on an approach to land, will affect the meaning of words, such as gear down. This could be a question, gear down. It could be an order, gear down, or confirmation of an action completed, gear down. Punctuation is also important, as in these two sentences. Woman without her man is useless. Woman, without her, man is useless. Is it possible to identify the components of communication? In 1960, the communication theorist David Berlow thought that there were four main elements: source, message, channel, and receiver. He called this the SMCR model. The first component of communication is the source, which will be an individual, such as the captain, or a group, such as the cabin crew or the management of the employing company. Berlow placed great emphasis on the relationship between the source and the receiver. There are many factors which affect both the source and the receiver, such as their communication skills. The greater the communication skills, the better should be the communication. But this may not be true if the source and the receiver have different communication skill levels. For example, there is no point in a manager of the airline delivering a detailed talk to his staff if he uses management speak, which no one understands. The attitude of the source towards the receiver, or the receiver towards the source, may be relevant. A captain who thinks that his crew members are a bunch of idiots is less likely to communicate well with them. Or if the crew think the pilot is an idiot, they are less likely to listen intently to him. The level of knowledge which both source and receiver have will also be relevant to the success of the communication. There would be little point delivering a lecture on turbine engines to a class of students who have not yet mastered the principle of the wheel. Finally, the social system and culture of the parties may reflect upon their acceptance of a communication. For example, in some Far Eastern cultures, it may be difficult to challenge the view of a superior, and this will obviously limit the content of a communication. Once a decision has been made to communicate, the second component is the message, which is behaviour in a physical form, such as speech, gestures, writing, and so on. The way that the message is treated will affect its content. For example, in preparing his copy for a newspaper, a journalist will select words which he thinks his readers will understand. He may be selective in his use of facts, and he may choose to structure the article by using a larger typeface for emphasis. The source then has to choose a medium or a code for transmitting his message, such as his voice, music, or the muscles of his hands or face. This is known as encoding. The third component of Berlow's analysis of communication is the channel of communication, which is one or more of the 5 senses of hearing, seeing, touching, smelling, and tasting. These are the ways in which the receiver receives the message. The receiver then decodes the message into a format which he can understand. In the fourth component of communication, the receiver applies his communication skills, knowledge, attitudes, social system and culture, in order to interpret the message from the source. The interpretation of the message may not, however, be the meaning intended by the source. How would you interpret these words? Eats, shoots, and leaves. Take time to examine Berlow's model of communication before continuing. Before we look in greater detail at communication, some other terms need to be defined. 1 bit of information means the quantity of information required to reduce the uncertainty of the receiver by 50%. A dialogue is a series of communications on the same subject between a source and a receiver. Hypertext is the unspoken or implicit message in a communication. For example, the question, "Where's the nearest pub?" may have a hypertext of, "I need the toilet," or "I need a drink." The implicit message will vary with the context. Verbal communication simply means the use of spoken words. How these words are delivered will embellish their meaning. For example, a shrill tone may suggest urgency. Non-verbal communication means body language. Eye contact, facial expression, gestures, and physical contact all convey additional information. For example, a long stare and a quiet voice saying "hello" may be pleasant, whereas the same words spoken by a person with a stormy appearance may not be so alluring. Different cultures respond differently to body language. A raised finger means "wait a minute" in one culture, but it may mean something quite different, possibly offensive, in a different culture or age group. Personal space means the area around us, into which we do not want other people to come, unless it is on our own terms. An unwanted face close to one's own may even imply aggression. Meta-communication covers all the varieties of body language, facial gestures, the tone and pitch of our voice, etc. Indeed, research has shown that up to 80% of communication can be other than by the spoken word. Very often, communication takes the form of question and answer. The purpose of a question may be to elicit information, or it may be to seek confirmation. It depends upon the context, the wording, and the tone. The question may also be worded to produce a particular answer. For example, a pilot who has lost his situational awareness and who asks, "That is Oxford, isn't it?" is far more likely to receive the answer yes than no. This is known as a leading question. Questions can also be categorized as either open or closed questions. Open questions, also called implicit questions, require either a single deduction or multiple deductions before an answer is given. For example, a captain may ask, "In view of the weather, what should we do?" This will require the co-pilot to consider various things, such as the type, position and configuration of the aircraft, the type and proximity of the weather, the dangers that such weather may pose, the aircraft fuel state, the availability of air traffic control or airport facilities, and the qualifications of the crew.